Around the world and across the ages, this is The Cavern Today. I'm your host, Ankhangel. Cyan has certainly been busy. Not only have they been dropping regular screenshots and details of their work on the upcoming remake of Riven, they've also confirmed the game will launch sometime this year. Needless to say, the embers of excitement in the fan base have been firmly stoked. For this, our Spring 2024 edition, we'll be discussing all the details from recent announcements that have us most excited, as well as taking a moment to reflect on the past year, which was incredibly eventful for us here at TCT. We'll also be bringing you Episode 2 of Esto Centura's Dunny History Series Deep Dive, Sherry's That's Just Me, of course, original music by Sasha Strange, and more. News from the Cavern has been a little quiet recently, so for this episode we'll forego our usual Cavern news segment and jump straight into our TCT Talk roundtable. Without further ado, I'll go ahead and turn the mic over to the rest of the team. Take it away, folks.
You're listening to TCT Talk, our roundtable chatterbox about the goings-on in the Cavern community. This month we have with us Ankhangel.
Hello!
Dalken Starbyne.
Howdy.
Esto Centura,
Dorate.
also known as Whoopi. And we have Maurus.
Hello, everyone.
And me, Sherry. So, what's up?
What's up? Well, it's been a year. That's what's up.
It has been quite a year.
Holy
Oh my
buckets.
goodness.
Buckets and buckets of news.
Nah, nothing's happened.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
No,
It's
of
all
course
a figment
nothing
of
at
your
all.
imagination. This is all a big Truman Show lie. No, Riven remake. We're getting lots of teasers about that. Lots of sneak previews. Cyan's been really,
Huge,
really mouthy lately.
big info drop recently as it started when they put it up for listing in various storefronts, but then gradually more and more every day almost we've been getting more and more screenshots coming out about it, more info coming out about it, as well as a new title for the game, which is sort of tantalizingly this version of Riven is not just called Riven, nor is it called Riven, the sequel to Mist, but is in fact called Riven: New Discoveries from the Lost Dunny Empire, which is very
Beyond the
exciting,
Dunny
very
Ultra World.
yes.
Yeah.
Wait a second. Did Chris Metzen go to Cyan and just bunk in or what?
It's like, look, man, sometimes you just got a hot box of maglev with some dank Eatrum venom, you know what I mean?
At least it
Hey.
isn't the Mist Saga. It's like, in WoW, you have the World Soul Saga. It's like, okay, right on. Okay,
At least the title means something about what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Of course, yeah, which of course seems to imply that Cyan is very much heavily leaning in here on, yes, this is a remake of Riven. Yes, it's, we're going to see the world from the old game, but there's a little more to it than the world you experienced last time. And it might not be
I
quite
am
the same,
so
though.
excited.
I am as well, especially seeing I think was it a Game Informer article?
Yeah. That Game Informer article
mhm.
was beautiful, honestly. Like I loved everything about that. And all of the little hidden images that they had in there, if you had to go to the gallery to see all of the images that were available.
Oh, wow, I
But
think I might have missed those.
it was just, oh gosh, I'm so, like, Gen's eyebrows have texture.
Yeah, it looks like they're really getting their money's worth out of UE5.
Yeah, but there's the whole raspberry thing. Are they going to include from the guy
We
who
can
played
only
him?
hope.
I
We
want
need a
quote of-
raspberry. We need to bully Rand. We need a raspberry.
The whole thing is, I just really want to hear Gen say, Cirrus, you're my favorite grandson.
Oh, now we're just getting into favoritism.
It is funny because, again, actually, that's a good question. The original, I know obviously this is not a priority for them. And I think actually maybe they made a comment to this effect at Mysterium, if I remember correctly. But it is a valid question of Riven had a whole bunch of little Easter eggs in there. And it's a valid question of, are they gonna maybe recreate some of those Easter eggs, like again singing opera? If everybody's seen that clip of Gen singing opera,
Yeah.
If not, they should have
spend
by
the time
now.
to recreate that with the model.
They should actually ship it with a vintage outtakes reel. I mean, it's
all
it's
that
one of those
stuff's
things that
going up on YouTube with the Video Game Archive Found. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm butchering the name. I'm terrible at this.
No, it's true. That whole reel that we saw at Mysterium has since been posted to their YouTube. Exactly. The video. I can't remember the exact name. The Video Game Preservation Society or something to that effect. I don't remember the exact name.
The Video Game History Foundation.
On there.
I'm sorry.
That's the one.
Yes.
Yeah, that whole clip that we talked about that we laughed so much about is now up.
Cavern today, we're professionals, ladies and gentlemen.
Professionals.
Listen, it's been a long year.
It has been a long year.
Don't worry, we'll include the link below.
It's still possible I may vanish due to an ice storm right now. Who knows? This is all on a wing and a prayer right now.
That's why you bring your Relto. You can panic link out of a blizzard.
Yep.
Never know when you need to panic link. That's right.
It's just attached to my belt.
So
apologies to the Video Game History Foundation for absolutely butchering their name not once but twice.
You're doing very important work. Thank you for everything.
My thanks to Ankh for being the one to do it instead of me.
Can I just let my mind explode for a minute here? We're talking about going back to the discussion of Gien and the way that they've been
bring us back around, please.
Bringing new life to this character. Specifically, how they've worked. They're working with SAG-AFTRA for one, and they've got somebody who has studied John Keston's movements from the original, and then with that, they're able to bring that performance back to life while maintaining John Keston's original voice. Like that's amazing. Like that is
a very special level of dedication to the original performance and the original artist that you really don't see a whole lot of.
It just shows to me that they are as invested in making sure that what made Riven special the first time is still going to be there.
It feels like Rand really meant it when he said that to us Riven is sacred. It seems like they've really been treating it that way from all the previews we've seen. This is absolutely stunningly beautiful, gorgeously detailed. Mm-hmm. It's like the exact opposite of the Half-Life Source situation. It's like this is everything Starry Expanse was going to be, basically. And then a whole lot more with the new revelations from the Dunny Empire, which I think is a really cool hook.
And that's what I like, is sacred but not immutable.
One of the first things that they did once they got back with Vanderwind, they sat down and they figured out everything that Gin did in the 30 years between the Book of Atris and Riven. And like that is what, for one, like my mind's blown that they didn't already have that. Just because of the attention to detail that they have always had. But two, now that they have that and that they're using that to inform these changes that we're seeing in Riven, I am so excited to see.
It thrills my inner archaeologist to bits. I was an Ancient Societies kid at the library. So the whole exercise of seeing, okay, what do we know now and how does that change things, just sets my brain on fire in the most exciting way that you just don't get in game stories that don't work the same way that Myst does.
Well, okay, the only problem I have with all of this, and I don't mean to be a naysayer or doomy person, but do you remember how they tried to bring Peter Cushing back into the Star Wars universe? And at the end scene of, like, was it episode 3, where you've got Hayden Christensen walking in as Darth Vader, and then they try to fit a guy. They tried to make him look like Peter Cushing, and you just looked at him and went, no. Because that was not Peter Cushing at all. And, Peter Cushing has had more work in Star Wars posthumously than he did in the entire run before he died. So I'm just really kind of worried that they're going to try to kind of Peter Cushing this and just, please, no. I'm just praying to the maker that it really comes off well.
Well, that's what I think. That's what I think struck me so well about this approach, the way it's been described so far. When you have an actor that's passed away that you can't, use for new footage or performance anymore, and also the situation moving to 3D. It's there's a number of different ways that they could have gone about doing this, and this to me feels like the most respectful way they possibly could have done it. Right? I'm recreating the performance from scratch by studying what he did and not re-recording his audio, but in fact using the same audio. That feels like, to me, the most respectful way they possibly could have done it. And that gives me a lot of faith in their approach, for sure.
But still not having it puppeted by a computer. There's still a live performer.
Yes.
With it, looking back at the article, it looks like they're doing facial motion capture. So there will be real facial movements being used to control the digital John Keston's movements. So there will be a live performance the whole way through, and it's that touch of artistry that I think is the real core of what it has to be to respect it. It's not just animating a couple of lines over for something. It's there's real artistry going on.
I agree with that. It's just I just want to be cautious because when you guys were talking about that, because I have not followed along because I kind of want to be in the no spoilers camp on this one.
Legit.
Yeah. It's one of those things where, I love hearing about it, but it's one of those things I want to turn my eyeballs off because I don't want to see it because Myst, for all of its great storytelling, is still such a visual game. You sit there and you just have your socks knocked off with how beautiful it is. It's just a thing. So, that's just me though.
I will say though, every new, they've been putting out new ones almost every day too on their Twitter feed. New pictures or renders or even just objects that they want to render. Every new little render that comes out just looks so interesting, so cool. As beautiful as, if not more beautiful than the game that I remember.
Yeah.
It's like that meme, like you're as beautiful as the day I lost you.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Like if you go back, there's color compression, and then you kind of think about it, and this is kind of how it lives in your memory.
It's like the opposite of "Would you love me even if I were a worm?"
But I love because there's things that are fascinating in how similar they are and how beautiful, exactly how we remember there, and there's some things that are fascinating in how different they are. Right. So one example being, I find it really interesting as far as differences that we've seen so far. They're leaning really heavily into, even just with the sort of cover art that they've shown so far, the fish symbol, right? Which in the game was always sort of, we saw it on the side. But it's this rotated version of the fish symbol. And it seems like they're intentionally saying, hey, look, doesn't the back of this fish symbol also look like all the gold domes in the game? Isn't that interesting? Like they're being coy about
and
that.
kind of the telescope as well.
Yeah, we get the get the gold dome and the telescope, and it's just
it's an angle they really haven't explored before. Yeah, it's really exciting to imagine how it's. They're definitely hinting in ways the directions they're expanding things.
Well, you know what that fish in that orientation also kind of looks like, right?
A fish?
Well, what if you took it and then you just stretched it up a bit? So like you stretched it vertically.
Okay.
Okay, now stretch it vertically more.
Okay.
Okay, now more.
Okay.
Okay, now what does it look like? Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I carry my Moiti dagger that we got at Mysterium. I carry that thing on my keychain. I never go anywhere without it. It sits next to my pocket knife.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
I hope everybody saved their maglev ticket because we're going to be needing it soon.
Fine, I'm actually looking at it right now.
Moiti dagger, such a simple but effective. It's just so cool looking and such a visually you look at that and you know
it is such an iconic design.
Yeah.
Like wow.
Riven is what makes it so powerful is So everything feels so perfectly of Riven,
Yeah.
like really doesn't feel like it belongs anywhere else. It's like this is what Riven is,
It's the Vanderwind.
Yep.
It really is. There's a tremendous cohesion of vision.
And it's so interesting seeing a lot of these locations that we're so used to seeing in HD for the first time, which is really, really cool. Of course, that famous hallway shot with the the red glass domes with the elevator not there, which was on the back of the Riven box, but you couldn't actually see in Riven.
Yeah.
Of course, keeping with tradition, that's also one of the first renders that they show.
And now you can actually see what's outside of the hallway.
Mm-hmm. Not lava, it's rock, but illuminated. Yeah. Very cool looking. And
I always kind of imagined that it was like some kind of mirrored gold trick of the light. Like it was kind of a shiny golden material with water reflecting upwards or something.
Yeah, because it seems like that whole space is very confusing. It seems like you go through that water and then it's just, we're under the water now. Back in a dry. I remember in the book it's described as being weird too.
I think it's supposed to be like intentionally weird, to be like just a display of spiritual power kind of thing.
Well, the water reacts to heat, right? So, I mean, I don't think we were necessarily far off that thinking that, it's lava, but no, it probably is some kind of a heat source, particularly when you think about what's above this particular hallway, right? Because that's Survey Island.
True.
Yeah. All I'm thinking about, sorry guys, I was sitting next to Esto when this happened. So my word, it's one of those things that I have to say Esto's swoon word, Garo Hefty.
it was such a moment.
And it was just watching him swooning, going and leaning over to me, going, "It's Garo Hefty." It was a thing, man. That was a moment for him. It was just, it's one of those things. It's like meeting Rand.
My mind is permanently blown from that reveal. Like, I remember, like, there were oohs and ahs throughout the whole audience, but I was like, oh my god.
There were oohs and ahs in chat. I was watching online, and we all had the exact same reaction.
I was sitting next to you, Dalken, but no, I did not see you. My eyes were glued to the hunk of metal that Rand was holding.
Well, because like Sherry saw you drooling over it. Meanwhile, I was also drooling over it, but my form of it was a lot more muted because I just kind of stopped moving.
Deer in the headlights, huh?
It was just like
barely comprehending what you.
Yeah, like I knew what I was seeing because it was exactly the way it's described, but I couldn't believe it. That was what I was staring at, like right in front of me, my own actual eyeballs.
I mean, so I feel it is journalistic. It is my journalistic responsibility to state that we don't know with 100% certainty that that's what it is. We have a very strong suspicion that that's what it is, and I tried to like coax that out of Rand to like confirm, is this Garo Hefty? Because I was standing there in that line thinking, it was like, I have time. I can ask one question and I have two. How do I couch them together into like a single question? And tried to get his confirmation. Is this Garo Hefty and what does it mean? And I mean, the answer was, we don't know what it means. We kind of know what it means. We kind of know what it means, but we don't know what it means.
Yeah. I, for one, am absolutely tickled by the implication that Gen didn't know what it meant either. And he was basically winging it this entire time and basically almost blew himself up. And that amuses me to no end.
Yeah.
Just throwing whatever he could at the wall and seeing what
Absolute mad science.
And absolutely tracks, like 100%.
No clue what the hell he's doing.
Dude, it's like letting a non-coder onto your website code.
No wonder he's like, script kitty.
The script kid.
Oh, man. No, but note to Jeff from Cyan. Jeff, please make the, what are they, like a fleece blanket with the Garo Hefty symbol on it for Dalken and Esto so they can tie it around their neck and run around their houses like, superheroes going, I'm Dunny Man. So, yeah, they just need that in their lives. Please, Jeff, think about that.
Well, I think that's as good a topic as any for us to pivot from Riven to our general look back at 2023, because it's been quite a journey for us over here at TCT. Towards the end of 2022, we started thinking about, Mysterium's going to be in Spokane. Do we want to go? We'd have a chance to have TCT at Cyan HQ. That'd be awesome. We started talking about it, and it was a journey from there on out of planning and practicing the format and getting out there. And what a crazy year it's been for us here today, huh?
Hey, we did TCT live, and that was a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as our listeners may have probably sussed out by now, the reason that we did that TCT live podcast when we did is because that was our way of experimenting with that format that we knew we were going to have to do if we were going to do a live show at Mysterium. We were going to have to do something like that, but we wanted to use that as a testing bed to make sure that was going to work. And sure enough, it worked pretty dang well. We all had a lot of fun, and our visitors had a lot of fun too. Everybody that showed up to the Cavern Today Hood. We might do that again sometime in the future. We're not sure, but it was a lot of fun.
I think we absolutely can. One thing that I would recommend for, it might be a little inside baseball, I guess, but just moving forward, we definitely want to be certain that we don't have too many people doing that at time, because we want to make sure that everybody has time to speak.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
God bless you, man. Hey, but as I remember it, it was me in February going, I got my ticket. Who's going with me? And I'm like, you guys have to come with me. You have to, because we have to do the show live. And so, yes, but we did it. I was so proud. But hey, just so everybody knows, I have lost 20 pounds since the recording of that video. I am
Congratulations.
going down. I did it by eliminating high fructose corn syrup from everything, which is difficult as heck. But the whole thing is that, next time we do a show at Mysterium, I'm going to be a little bit more svelte because I was like, oh, look at 2-ton Tessie. That's just bad. Anyway, so but that was so much fun. And the lady who was sitting next to me in the airplane going, are you sure it's not a cult? I was like, yes, I'm positive it's not a cult. Because, we have that meme that's floating around the community where it's like, have you finished Mist? And the little girl with her eyes welling up with tears going, never. We have that. So what?
T-shirt idea. Are you sure it's not a cult?
Oh my God.
Are you sure it's not a cult?
That's just begging to be a T-shirt.
It really is.
I will wear it.
I would wear it.
Yeah, I know, but it's one of those things. We got to give Jeff first crack at these. I'm sure it's not a cult. But
That's true. That's true.
But hey, Maurus, is it about time to release our TCT shirts to the masses?
That would be fun.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
let's do it.
Definitely a couple extra cents, pay some of the server costs would not be bad.
Okay. All right. Well,
You're
anyway,
here first, folks.
Yeah.
Of course, as you guys all know, if you'd like a TCT related clothing in Uru, of course, you can pick those up in the new Messengers pub. But we're talking in real life, maybe producing some. I think way back in the day. Right. That was a long story with shipping things that definitely weren't Dalken's fault. But
listen, okay? I gave them very clear instructions. I even told them to not stop at the cleft like they normally did. Okay? It was all listed out. It wasn't my fault. We
got to get them Esto, that old concept of a quick disposable linking book with a stencil you can quickly draw in to get there and back. Yeah,
I think I still have a couple from Tweak.
Directions laid out in the clef saying, FedEx, follow these instructions.
Just gotta teach the FedEx guy how to use a linking book.
I'm sure they can figure it out.
Well, Dalken's got all the alternative linking strategies, so yeah.
Oh yeah, we
I'm
were
so
just
sorry.
discussing the practicality of the people's elbow earlier.
Yeah.
Mm.
There's also the high heel. When,
Oh, yeah.
both
Yeah,
your
get
arms
those
are
legs up.
full,
Get those legs up in time.
5, 6, 7, 8.
Have we
no,
determined
it's
if momentum
5, 6, 7
carries
link.
across a link?
That is
I
a good question.
don't
I've always kind of wondered.
know.
You don't really have a way of testing that.
What if you accidentally sat on a linking panel?
Ooh.
You don't want to know.
Let's see.
Well,
It reminds me of,
gloves work, right? So
Yeah.
your butt in pants would work, right?
I guess.
it's just it reminds me of that Pixar short Lifted, where the guy's he's abducting the human from his house, and the little alien gets him in the window, but all you see is his butt coming through the window, and you see his butt crack a little bit. I mean that's just what I'm thinking about, getting pulled through the linking panel. Be like, oh, butt first.
Alternative linking strategies.
There you go.
Alternative linking
Alternative
strategies.
body contact linking strategies. Yes.
It was so funny. The whole, even just with like Open Uru stuff, at least me, I've been getting over the course of 2023 and more involved with those guys over there. It's such a fun, collaborative community over there. Really, really wonderful folks over there. Like them a lot. But I was working with a Harley, also known as Callum Traveler, who'd been working on putting a new intro together. And I had started out by volunteering. Let me help you with some of the audio with this. And then I started saying, well, actually, Harley, what if you actually rephrase this a little bit? So, and it was sort of back and forth, collabing. In the back of my head, I started thinking, who would be great if they could read this?
Yeah.
Moog,
I said,
obviously.
I started thinking, in my head, we're going to Mysterium. And slowly began putting in my mind this grand plan together of, I gotta get Rand to read for this at some point. We gotta figure it out.
Gotta.
And that became my goal for 2023. And you know what? It happened. Because we got him on the pod. It happened.
We did. It was such a moment. I'm still over the moon.
The one question I did want to ask him was, Cyan is so far outside of like what the AAA companies do, like the Blizzard Activisions and those companies, and I mean, with all the upheaval that's been going on, that basically, like, the big topic for a while was how misogynist and awful these companies were, and how they didn't respect people in the LGBTQIA community and so forth.
Yeah.
And I wanted to know from Rand, how do you stay above that? How do you stay above the fray? And I mean, the only thing I can really think of as a reason is because they are a small indie shop. And they've always been a small indie shop. That's why they have such a pristine reputation, I think. What do you think?
I think that sounds like it's probably a factor. I think that Cyan's always been a little bit different than the rest of the games industry, just in general, in terms of their kind of their mentality and where they exist in the space.
They're definitely a lot culturally different from the more moneyed interests that sort of pervade, like the advertisers and the big cross synergy, get promotion, have a drink deal kind of thing. That's not really Cyan's bag at all, and it's never really been that way.
I think also for those of us who have met Rand in person, I would just gesture at the man.
That's true.
He's
Vaguely.
Just
one of the sweetest people in the world.
Whoopi, hold me.
She sprung a leak, guys.
Like, I would not put it like, if I met Rand on the street, just first glance, I would expect him to be sitting on the beach with a surfboard, giving out sage advice and nice drinks.
Yeah.
You were actually not the first person to say that.
I'm sure I'm not. He just gives off that kind of energy.
It's a thing, man.
But no, I mean, I definitely get the sense, based on everybody that we've talked to, everybody that's done interviews, that everybody that works at Cyan just loves it. Just loves it. They're working at Cyan. It really the vibe I get from everybody that's talked, everything we heard from Hannah, everybody else, is there's like just a real sense of like collaborative energy over there.
It's a
And
healthy
that
work
sounds-
environment, or at least that's what it sounds like.
You don't get a lot of those in this industry, so definitely kudos.
It is, it's definitely the one to shoot for, I think. I've heard Valve is pretty good too,
studio.
but
Shumla would be the one to ask.
Yeah,
yes, she would.
Yeah, for
She's
sure.
She would know.
We gotta get her on at some point.
I think Tim Larkin's bounced between both of them a few times, among other places.
Tim Larkin wrote a bunch of music for. He's all over the place. He wrote a bunch of music even for Borderlands, if I remember correctly. He's all over the place.
He gets around.
Tim Larkin was actually on my most played list on Spotify for my year end. How they do the raps. Yes, because what I did is I went through Spotify and I got all of the really relaxing music from the entire Mist series. And I put in with it two separate versions of Peter Gabriel's Curtains for Mist 4. And so literally it starts out with the opening from Uru. Yisha, your mother had a dream. And it starts with Rand's voice, and then it bridges into all the most relaxing music throughout the Mist series. And I fall asleep to it every night.
Oh, what a mix.
And exactly. And I just call it Curtains. And I literally fall asleep to that every night. So the songs from Jack Wall and from Tim Larkin are there. And I'm just like, oh yeah, that makes sense why they would be number one on my Spotify Wrapped.
Yeah.
But
this is a franchise with a lot of very good ambient music. We gotta put credit where it's due. Yeah.
Speaking of which, Robin Miller, I was absolutely jazzed to get him on for the interview as well.
Yeah.
Oh, so lovely.
I was so excited to hear a lot of his thoughts on the earlier kind of things, how they got their start.
Absolutely. I was wanting to bring him up too, so I'm so glad you did.
Yeah, like we so rarely get to hear his thoughts on things, and it was such a treat to be able to pick his brain about things.
Yeah.
God, how awesome it was that we were able to land. We didn't think we would be able to get both of them, so it really worked out very, very well. I mean, we're very, very lucky.
Incredible.
Very, very lucky.
Thanks to them both for appearing again.
Yes. And for asking us questions, that never happened.
Yeah,
that was the coolest part of. I loved that about them. That they, you know what? We want to ask you guys a couple of questions. We want to get in your head as big fans of,
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, love that.
And listen, we know you guys listen, or at least sometimes. So if you're listening now, we loved it. Come back anytime. Ask us more questions anytime.
That might be a good place for us to transition to our final talking point, which is going to be thinking about last year in general, thinking about last year in review. Other than the Mist universe, what were some of our favorite, sort of gaming experiences of 2023? And, we've done this before. We did this last year as well. We thought it was a nice little tradition, so we thought we would continue it and do a little over the fence talk about what other universes we had fun in last year.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I discovered Subnautica.
Oh,
nice. And
Terrors of the Deep.
Remember, I'm a diver. I know how to scuba dive.
So you're already kind of familiar.
Yeah. And I worked at the Living Seas at Epcot Center way back in the day. And so it's one of those things that, I'm used to thinking like that. So for me, it's just like, okay. And it's very natural kind of thing for me. So I enjoyed that very much. Of course, I'm still rocking my Druid in World of Warcraft. Never going to put that down. Otherwise than that, yeah. But I've been working and creating graphics and just hanging out with you guys all year. So, I mean, I'm sorry, but it's been the best year of my life.
Aww.
Hello. I've been doing a lot of gaming because I was streaming for more of this year, the past year than I hadn't been. I'm currently on hiatus now, but that's the whole thing. But So I've got a whole list, but the most recent one that I really, really liked was a little game called Cobalt Core, which is a sci-fi themed kind of roguelite deck builder game.
That is so interesting that you mentioned that, because you know who else was called Cobalt Core?
Yes, that was what I was gonna follow up on that. Yeah, because they were at my first Mysterium. Yeah, so the little indie band called Cobalt Core, who have done at least one Mist fan song, which is absolutely brilliant. Arcana.
Yeah, I think if I'm remembering
Ode to
correctly,
the
it was about
Mist, I think was the official title.
10 or 15 years ago we had a Cobalt Core song on the podcast. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's funny that they have the same name. Ties it back a little bit.
Yeah, it was a funny little bit of confusion when the friend who was recommending the game to me was trying to recommend it to me. Because they just brought it up like in a group of us, so it wasn't like just to me specifically. But and they're like Cobalt Core, and I was kind of half paying attention the time. I'm like, wait, what now? Somebody knows Cobalt Core? What?
There's always that satisfaction when you like recognize another member of the club.
Right, and then it turned out to be it turned out to be this game instead. But which it also has very, very fun music, by the way. Absolutely beautiful soundtrack. And it's fun and cute. The characters are fun little cute animal characters, and it's kind of a retro like pixel art-ish kind of style. It's very, very cute. So if anything about that seems appealing to you, I would say go stick your nose in, see if it might have more appeal for you.
Going through that same year in review image you posted, I've heard great things about Tunic as well. I haven't played it yet, but
oh yes, Tunic I streamed at the beginning of the year, around about spring, and it's a little bit Zelda, it's a little bit Dark Souls, it's a little bit Myst, actually.
There's I watched over my housemate's shoulder while she was doing the deeper puzzles. There's a lot of Myst in Tunic. Holy buckets.
It's a lot deeper than you think. Like even with what you've heard now, it just there's more there. It's one of those.
Yeah.
And then I need to pick up Okami again.
That's been on my list for a long time.
Yeah, I was streaming that when I went on hiatus,
time.
so I was in the middle of that, so I need to finish that. And then of course VR chat, which this is technically this year, but my full body trackers finally came in, so I've been doing some fun stuff with that, and that's where I got that
awesome
picture of me with the linking book in the Adonai Cathedral.
And yeah, shout out to the VR Guild people who built all those really cool models of Myst locations.
Yeah, there's a bunch of Myst worlds in VR chat that have been rebuilt by the community. I think, let's see, there's Eater Sogal, there's Adonai Cathedral.
There's Cage Gallery. There's the Bevan style neighborhood, which is just called Bevan in VR chat.
Just for
there's the Nexus, which honestly, if you want to find any of the other ones, just go to the Nexus. That's
how that works.
The one where that's the hub world. There's at least one version of Myst, at least one version associated with the VR Guild, I should say.
Fair enough.
I have seen at least 3 different Myst worlds on VR chat on the broader whole.
I went to one that didn't perform super well. So if there's more now, I'm curious if maybe those perform better.
It's kind of depends on what you mean. Because like there's one that is very pretty but doesn't do much of anything, doesn't perform very well. There's one that it was like an early work in progress to try to recreate a lot of the functional elements of Myst without using any of the game assets. And so it had a number of the puzzles in place, but it had a lot of like stand-in stuff and all of that fun jazz. So like the Maze Runner was not like a functional scripted thing that you could ride in, at least yet. It was just like a series of teleports.
Maze Runner. So they at least built a map.
The Maze Runner was just a maze that you run through. Like it kind of just a running maze. Yeah.
That was the original plan as far as I know. So
yeah, maybe it's kind of the elevated thing, yeah.
Not super far off, yeah.
But yeah, honestly, Dalken and I have been kind of kicking ourselves over not giving VR in general more of a shout out.
Yeah.
When we were asked about it. VR has been a big thing for me as well. Mostly in the just kind of personal get around, move, and do stuff. I've been playing a lot of, honestly, my old favorite, Hot Dogs, Horseshoes, and Hand Grenades. If anyone's ever heard of it, it's sort of an object interaction / gun simulator, but the actual physical interactions of picking objects up, using their complex interactions and using them together, and just the way the physics play have always been my favorite of any kind of VR experience, even though it's kind of an older game at this point. They did have a big content drop this year as well, so shout-outs to Anton. And then, as long as I'm shouting out my combat sims, I also want to bring up Ultra Kill again. I kind of brought it up in passing when Rand asked us. But Ultra Kill also, despite the name, it's actually a really deep experience. If you're a lore hound, Ultra Kill's got it. It's kind of an ADHD simulator. It's Devil May Quake is a good description of it. But
interesting.
But it has some really deep story influences. There's a lot of old school classical Renaissance writing, some newer stuff like what is the book? I can't remember the name of the book that Hackda recently recommended. That was kind of related to the big update that Ultra Kill recently had, but shout-outs to them as well, since we're talking about year-end stuff.
Hella.
Yeah, I'll say as far as my year in gaming, I actually I got into this a little bit in the Rand interview, actually. But towards the beginning of the year, you asked me what I thought my most played game of the year would be. I would have told you, there's a new Zelda game coming out. 100% that's going to be what I'm going to sink all my time into. There's no question. And then Baldur's Gate 3 comes around and surprises me.
Yeah, I played a lot of that too.
Sucks me the hell in.
That's not on my Steam because I had that through GOG. But yeah, played.
I haven't played it myself, but just the existence of Baldur's Gate 3 tickles me to no end because it really shows that people are really hungry for good narrative and just a solid sit-down storytelling experience.
The characters are so good, and you can tell that they're so good because they clearly spent a lot of time working on these characters, letting the actors influence the direction the characters went in. And the
everyone
dialogue,
is just selling it.
To the point where once you get to the end product, every single one of these feels like a real person. Yeah. Where, like, if you can easily meme all of them, and you can, then you know that you've created a character that stands out, Like, that's really, at the end of the day, the test of...
when they're having funny Twitter comics made about them.
If it's so easy to do, then clearly they've made an impact. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. And technically, I haven't finished either of those games yet. I still have to finish Tears of the Kingdom. I still have to finish Baldur's Gate 3. But the amount of hours I've sunk into Baldur's Gate 3, even without finishing it, is just wild. It's it's just crazy. It's easily shot up to one of my most played games of all time on Steam, like, very, very quickly.
I'm tempted to give it a shot. I'm critically allergic to dice because I have the worst luck imaginable, but I don't know.
There's a couple clever ways sort of around that they give you. You can use like luck points sometimes, or there's ways that you can avoid bad dice rolls. I will say that you can't always do it, but they don't make it. It's built in such a way that you're not just constantly rolling terribly and getting stuck in a rut. So
Yeah. I don't know. I guess I'm just like in the same camp as Rand. As why can't I just be this?
which is that's totally fair.
Valid.
I am also someone who has watched a campaign literally explode itself over one die roll. So,
I mean, but that's part of the fun, right? You got to buy into it.
Don't let goblins throw bombs on trains.
No, absolutely. Let goblins throw bombs on trains.
Do not throw bombs on the lightning rail. Advice for any Forgotten Realms adventurers: do not throw bombs on the lightning rail.
I so totally need to have you guys teach me how to play D&D because apparently I am missing something.
I will gladly do so.
Yeah, my universe feels sadly incomplete because I have not done the tabletop role-playing game yet.
And we've got
one of these days.
We do.
One of these days, we as TCT will take a crack at playing Unwritten together, and no promises to the audience. Maybe that'll get recorded, maybe it won't, but we're definitely going to have to try it out at some point. Exactly.
I think in this year, I've kind of been all over the place when it comes to gaming. I mentioned in the Rand Robin interview that most of my time I actually spend designing games rather than playing them. But I have had some opportunity to play games aside from the Cyan offering this year, which we also absolutely need to talk about Firmament at some point. Once everybody has beaten it. I'm
on my replay now.
I have many thoughts, but I'm going to shelve that for now. Outside of those, this year I actually got back into playing Torchlight 2 with some friends. That was a ton of fun. I love Torchlight. If you've ever played Diablo or something like that, just imagine if it's that, but it's kind of like more cartoony and it's just fun. I love Torchlight 2. Even if my drops are abysmal. That's why I've got my buddies adventuring with me so that I can trade things that I get. Let's see. So
I enjoy a good dungeon crawler every now and again.
Yeah, there's a certain charm in its simplicity. There's also, I don't know if I mentioned this on a TCT Talk or if we just did it in one of our usual hangouts, but I really vibe with horror games, and this year we got the Dead Space remake and Resident Evil 4, and I am just eating those up. I just love it.
Oh yeah, I was watching someone play the Dead Space remake. That looks so good.
Just the atmosphere is perfect.
It's so squishy.
Yes, it is. Squishy is kind of the perfect description.
It's so squishy, I'm gonna die.
I am such a baby with horror games because, like, in a game you're more immersed than in any other kind of media. So any kind of horror game, I'm like, oh god, every time I get to a corner, I'm like,
take the anxiety.
Nah, there's a reason I stay in the van in Phasmophobia.
Okay, no, guys, I spent the entirety of my time playing Uru because remember, it was really my first Myst game after Myst, but the whole thing is that I thought any second walking through Kaddish, I thought something was going to jump around a corner at me.
It was Dalken.
Paranoia. Yeah, I know. I could hear Dalken breathing. No, but
is that what that is?
It's a stunt Dalken.
So you think you're hearing Barrow climbing around? It's actually Dalken.
Yeah. It's one of those things. 2023.
How do you think I got up on that chandelier?
Dude, you hang off of it.
Down from there.
I mean, he's been climbing around on stuff for how long now? But yeah, I always thought something was going to jump around the corner at me. And you know, Chris Metzen at his Geek Is, when he did that keynote, it was really funny because, you know, he's like, Geek Is late night Doom 2 sessions. And for me, I'm like, no. Uru on a stormy night not knowing that nothing is going to come around the corner to get you, but you automatically assume it is.
See, I
So,
can
yeah.
see, I could see how when you put it like that, because of how quiet and like very still and like kind of dark it is in Kadish, how if you're in the right mindset, it could be creepy. I get that when you're describing it. At the same time, I'm so sad that that was the experience because my whole time getting through Kadish was, wow, this is so beautiful. You know?
Oh yeah, for sure.
I was terrified when I first played OG Mist because I got so immersed in it as a little kid. And I was like, oh my god, I feel so alone.
There's that certain experience that can never quite be replicated of what having like a 16-bit sound blaster card blasting out that Mist intro. You see the sky crack open in front of you and someone fall in.
Yeah. Oh, it was so entrancing.
The fiery lettering of the Mist.
Yeah, that synth noise just like blowing out your speakers. It's like,
yes,
whoa.
It was perfect.
It was so absolutely entrancing, especially for 3-year-old me.
Mm-hmm.
See, I mean, for me, it's just I was just waiting for something to jump around a corner. So but you know, okay. So I did on Steam. I went and got Complete Chronicles. So I'm actually going through it and everything. And now that I know what's there and so forth, I get to relax now and I get to go, cool, man. But I'm looking for some of the stuff that's been implemented in Mool, and I'm just like, no, I missed that borrow stone that's behind the pyramid in Kadish. I'm like, no, put it back. Can you still stand on top of the pyramid in Mool right now?
Yes.
Yeah.
But I think there's a couple borrow stones in Agora that appear and disappear at random, and that's one of them.
Okay.
The other one being the Teledon dock.
Yeah, the one behind the library. Like you go up around the lip, all the way around to the far side. That's where it shows up when it shows up.
Are you spoiling?
That's the one.
Spoiling, yeah.
You know, spoil a 15-year-old game.
Spoil a 15-year-old game. I don't know. Get more new people into it. If they're not getting spoiled, maybe they'll stick with it more. I don't know. Like,
also, there are some people that are coming back like after 20 years. Seriously,
right? Yeah,
it has been amazing,
right?
That have been doing that, and so I'm just watching them as they're rediscovering the game, going, but wait, there's more.
I mean, more than that, it's amazing. We're seeing new life coming into the community too, right? I mean, the Riven remake, it's not just affecting those who have already been there, who are being brought back, but they're bringing new people with them too. And they're showing up. They're not, I mean, I don't know how many times this year I've seen people pop into the Cyan chat and say like, hey, I'm new here. How do I do this? Where do I get started? And then, you know, suddenly 8 billion people in chat typing all at once. They're saying, oh my God, welcome. This is where you need to start. This is how you do it. And welcome. Is it a cult?
It's not a cult.
I can neither confirm nor deny.
No, but we can all agree that Mist is a cult classic.
Yeah, okay, yes. It is a cult classic. That is what we mean, yes.
On that lady that I was sitting next to on the plane ride in, the look on her face. Right. But I did get her to go to cyan.com and take a look at all of the offerings. And but me swooning over it the way I was, I'm like, damn, I'm an avid. I was like, you can't get much more avid than somebody spreading the word everywhere they go. You know?
On a plane.
It's a bird. It's a plane. No, it's just Mist.
Yeah.
The Starfisher.
We're the people who travel by book.
I have been in and out of that thing so many damn times. You have no idea. I use it more than a car at this point.
Just
It's a
yeet
bird, it's a
yourself into
plane, it's
the right
Riven, new
direction.
discoveries from the Dunny Empire.
Look, you can just jump in and it either takes you where you need to go or you warp out. One way or the other, you get there eventually. You
Was
just gotta
Dunny an
guess.
Empire? Help me out.
Hey,
Was Dunny an
Hey.
Empire? Yes.
Yes, for sure.
it's more reliable. It's more reliable than the Path train. I'll tell you that.
Hey,
Stand clear of the closing doors.
New Yorkers will get that reference. Oh,
The technical answer to that question is very complicated.
the simple answer is wahoo, 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 wahoo.
Yahoo!
They had kings, and then they had a guild council structure for a little while.
Yes, the 5.
Yeah. And so I'm sure somebody
Run.
better versed in the technical aspects of political structures would be able to give the technical terms for that, but I'm not that person.
Well, it's just one of those things where I didn't really think of it as an empire because I know
They
my canon.
conquered worlds and
Yeah.
held slaves.
Oh, but wasn't that an offshoot though?
No.
That was tyranny, you know?
Well, I mean, like it's a little bit like it's one of those quirks, right? Where like we call America a democracy, but it's not a true democracy. It's a democratic republic. So it's kind of one of those things where it's casual terminology versus like the really technical stuff.
Truth. But, it's one of those
Mhm.
things I never really think of it as an empire because I'm used to walking around everywhere and
Mhm.
it doesn't feel very empire-ish. Because when I think of empires, I think of Rome. And Rome had all the stalls and the booths and the people and, it was a lot busier.
And then the fall.
Yeah. So, well, hello.
Well, it's
There's
mean-
no greater fall than the fall of Rome.
Weren't the slaves in Teledon being sent to Lucky? Does anybody remember that?
Oh, was that how they were connected?
Because I'm pretty sure the slaves in Teledon were being sent to Luck, or was it Rebek? I need to go journal diving again. I think Sharper talks about it.
Yeah. I just personally to the question of were the Danian Empire they absolutely played the subjugation game and they were definitely stomping down the least. That was the whole point of the exercise.
yeah.
They definitely accomplished wonders, but wasn't all sunshine and roses.
So-
That's the-
Nope.
I was actually thinking about this earlier today, particularly because Lucky An, as we see it in Myst 5, you get Escher's whole description of how this was a place of glorious combat, and the implication that I feel is meant to be taken from that is that they were making the natives fight each other. But if you look a little deeper into it, they were just having, I believe that the tradition of the Laki who lived there, hunting the Lakian, the aquatic creatures that live out there, that they would fight them and harvest this jewel from them. That my understanding is that was actually a tradition that they already had before the Dunny came. The Dunny just came and
Turned it into a
made it-
gladiator sport.
yeah, like made it a spectator sport.
What's really
whereas
good fun?
so I don't.
Yeah,
I
I'm
did-
going to
I
go
mean-
back and read my Myst Reader again. I got to go through that because for me it's geez, I've forgotten all of that bad. You know how we have a tendency that the place we call home, we're used to having it be all of these good things, and you forget that there is bad involved. So hey, that's my therapy working, but it's a thing. So yeah, so we should pair up and go through the Myst Reader again.
I'm a weird
I
cultist.
agree.
I'm aware that I've set up shop in a corpse.
Well, everybody's invited to do that.
Well, we got a little sidetracked towards the end there, but I think we're just about ready to wrap things up. So, Sherry, you want to take us home?
Yeah.
Yep. And that's another edition of TCT Talk. We'd like to thank you for listening. And this was Ankhangel,
Take care.
Dalken Starbyne,
Farewell, citizens.
Dalken Stuntbine to you guys. Okay, Esto Centura,
Shora.
Maurus,
Take care, folks.
and me, Sherry, and we're signing off. See you next time.
Journeys. Symbols. These dominate our experience in Uru. From the moment we find ourselves in Eddy County, New Mexico, we are called. From the journey hand in the cleft to the path of the shell and beyond, we seek the journey. But for some, this pattern of worship began years before most of us took our first steps into Denis. Today, we're going to continue our exploration of the past and learn a fading history. History known to some, and history unknown to others. I am Esto, and this is Deep Dive.
There's a great deal of history that you should know.
In March 2002, the DRC opened their website to the public. For the first time, we were able to follow the restoration efforts. It was not long before Jeff Zandy made his presence known. His first message was simple. Topic: Billboard.
The gathered are known by their faces of stone.
The user information was filled with unusual references. Numbers. Dates. The message was posted again a few days later, under the topic of page, though under a different profile and now with different user information, though equally as cryptic. Both threads were quickly deleted by the DRC. Efforts to secure the site proved ineffective, as Zandy proceeded to hijack the DRC message board and take over the account of DRC member Victor Laxman, the restoration engineer who was responsible for restoring and translating Denis technology. He changed Laxman's user information now to display the email address 080301 at inside.mysterium.2001.
As it turns out, the key to this puzzle was right in front of the attendees of Mysterium 2001. Mark Zardaw's plumber.
The various sets of user information corresponded to the dates of the second Mysterium convention, which had been held in Carlsbad, New Mexico. Another string of characters bore a striking resemblance to GPS coordinates. The words "Current Argus" seemed to refer to a local newspaper in Carlsbad, New Mexico, and the email address from the third post read, quote, "Inside Mysterium," end quote. The message was soon cracked. Look on 080301, Inside Mysterium. Look for the billboard on 080401 at north 32 degrees 17.997 minutes, west 104 degrees 16.448 minutes. Look for the page on 080501 in the current Argus. By the time this had been decrypted, the third Mysterium convention was well underway in Philadelphia. Zandy had become a popular topic among the community. The fact that almost a year had passed with the mystery being unnoticed did not deter him, as he sent a fax to Mysterium.
Sorry I couldn't make Mysterium this year. Wish you were here. J. Zandy.
The fax ended with the photo of a cell phone, with the same coordinates given, and his cryptic message once again.
The gathered are known by their faces of stone.
The fax quickly spread through the community. It had become clear that Zandy wanted people to come to these coordinates. More than that, it seemed Zandy had been at the previous Mysterium but went completely unnoticed. Ultimately, the billboard was found at the coordinates provided, but it seemed that the image had been replaced as Zandy's lease for the billboard had expired. Fortunately, Zandy took notice and emailed the one who had discovered the billboard's location.
Your efforts will pay off. The gathered are known by their faces of stone.
A link was included to an image hosting site with 3 images titled Page, Billboard, and Inside. The 3 images revealed an odd spiral symbol, one placed in the ad space from the Carlsbad Current Argus, another showing the same symbol on the billboard that had been found, and finally, an image of Zandy from Mysterium 2001, wearing a shirt with the same mysterious symbol. Unfortunately, the billboard image only captured a quarter of the billboard. More information would be needed. These developments caught the attention of the DRC, who, with Victor Laxman leading the campaign, purchased the billboard from the sign company and had it taken into Denis. Meanwhile, on the surface, explorers were able to contact the sign company and learn that the unseen portion of the billboard featured another set of coordinates. Once again, geocachers stepped up to the plate and followed the coordinates to a petroglyph national monument just north of Albuquerque, New Mexico. Arriving at the location, it was still unclear exactly what they were looking for. Their only potential clue was the faces of stone mentioned by Zandy in many of his messages. To this end, the geocachers did find a petroglyph of a face etched in the stone. Zandy stepped in once again with a new message.
The journey is below the surface.
Shortly after, a spiral was found buried 4 inches beneath the face they had discovered before. The spiral was bronze and had the word Preafter etched on it in 3 places. It was only a matter of time before Preafter.com was discovered, featuring the enigmatic spiral along with an email address.
To complete Zandy 1, show a photo of the gathered with the journey at the face. Zandy. A new journey awaits.
A photo was taken and sent to the Preafter email. A short time later, the website symbol, which had featured 9 spikes radiating from along the top circumference, changed. The rightmost spike dimmed. In its place was a link leading to the picture they had just sent. The first of the journeys was complete, and it would not be long until the second journey would begin. We will continue our investigation of that journey and the discoveries of those explorers in our next deep dive. Until then, this has been Esto for the Cavern Today, signing off.
Thanks, Esto. Next, we'll turn things over to Sherry, who will be sharing her thoughts on her Dunny 20.
A few weeks ago, it was the 20th anniversary of the lights going out. The end of Prologue in Ur Live. I think that there are just a few of us left who remember Prologue. Even fewer remembered the day the lights went out in 2004. I just remember that I was in Eterkimo in a circle holding hands with my cavern family when suddenly a message appeared on the screen that read, "There seems to be a problem with the online connection. Please quit and try again." I logged out and logged back in, and there was nothing. And then I cried. A lot. That day has been memorialized. It's been written into academia, and it's still a watershed moment for us old-timers in the community. Most of the people I have met in Cavern recently never got to experience Prologue in Ur Live. Most of them only know the Cavern as it stands today. And while I love today's Cavern, nothing compares to the Ur Live Prologue back in 2004. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine hundreds and hundreds of people in Cavern. It was amazing. The first time I linked into Cavern proper in Prologue, my spawn point was at the curtain at the back of the Dakota Alley next to the stairs that lead to the Palace Alcove. No kidding. My avatar spawned into a sea of avatars that weren't even really moving. The chat at the top of the screen was blazing by, people trying to figure out exactly what was going on. For my part, when I tried to take a step forward, well, let's just say that from the moment I hit my up arrow to move forward to the moment her first step was completed, I could go to my kitchen, make a sandwich, eat it, have a leisurely soda pop and a bag of chips, and by the time I got back to my computer, her foot hit the ground again. I posited in the chat, "Why is it taking me so long to take a step?" The answer I got wasn't the usual kindness we're used to in Cavern. No, the answer I got was, "It's called lag, stupid." Well, after a little while of trying to walk around, I gave up, logged out, and headed for the forums. Back in the day, we didn't have some fancy Discord or voice over IP. Nope, we had forums. So if you got thrown back to the Dark Ages, as in disconnected, or got to the point where your hard drive started smoking because the lag was so bad, you could go catch up on the latest posts from the coolest people. It was standard practice to find out the news on the forums before going into Cavern anyway. That way you knew if there was an update or an event, or so you could plan your next foray into Cavern. And where, if you were one of the hundreds of greeters, a part of the Guild of Greeters, you could find out what time and on which of the 3 shards you were doing your next greeter shift. And it wasn't just one set of forums. Outside of the DRC and Ubisoft forums, and by the way, the DRC forums were the role-playing ones, so it was IC or in Cavern, and the Ubisoft forums were OOC or out of Cavern, so it was just you are you, just you being yourself. But if there was a neighborhood of note, they had forums as well. Places like The List, UO, which is Ur Obsession, The Great Tree, the DLA, which is the Denis League of Activities. There were the Linguists, the Guild of Caterers, the Guild of Greeters, even the Guild of Healers, and let's not forget Safety First. Like I often quip, safety first, it's not just a neighborhood in Nuru. There were tons more, but I can barely remember them. But if you were a member of one set of forums, you were a member of a lot of them. Your browser bookmark section was probably a sea of forum addresses, and we all made the rounds. How about sharing your adventures with your offline friends in the form of screenshots? Wait, sharing pictures on the forums? Really? Yeah, we had to upload them to PhotoBucket to even share them on the forums. And even then, you could barely embed them. It was just easier to share a link to your PhotoBucket. But when you could finally get into Cavern and buzz around without paralyzing lag, it was always amazing. To avoid the lag in the city, I can remember sitting and watching my buddy list in my key along with the fish in chemo, waiting for Pepsi to come in or waiting for Nerf, Turf, and other friends to show up online so we could play together or just chat. Linking to any age was an adventure because you never knew if sharing your Relto book was going to work, or if someone was going to disconnect, or because whether you liked it or not, Garrison took forever to load, and I do mean forever. You could tell that age was huge, and they had plans to expand that thing, because if you wanted to go over and play on the wall, brother, you had to want it bad to wait that long for it to load. But it was worth it when the wall decided to work, because putting on a maintainer suit and climbing the wall together was a huge, huge treat. And don't forget, we only had Cavern proper, the neighborhoods, and the 5 ages plus the Great Zero. You had to wait for the door to open to get into the gallery, and there were none of those fancy schmancy pod ages inside. Nope, just paintings. There was no Minkata or Erkana, and there was most certainly nothing like the Anone hamster wheel. That meant if you wanted to have an adventure in Cavern, you had to make it happen. You had to get with your pals and get a cone-kicking match together or Eddie soccer. Fountain dancing was also a popular pastime, as well as cone balancing, if you weren't helping someone in one of their ages or ambushing one of your pals with the pellet gun in Teledon. Yes, we did that. And we had to do it by telephone because you couldn't see through the pellet gun when someone came out of the tunnel, so you had to have a spotter. Yeah, Nerf and I did that to Don back in the day. Sorry, Don. But let's just say we did a whole lot with not much, and we still had a ball. In the past 20 years, I've watched as we went from Atris, Katrin, and Akanar shards in live, to even more shards during UU, with a myriad of shards from the DLA, Tapestry, Guild of Greeters, and Slackers, to the advent of Damala, which led to GameTap, and then finally to open source and the Minkata shard that supports our beloved Mist Online Uru Live Cavern today. I've been here for all of it, every celebratory moment to days that hurt so bad you had to take a knee. I've watched as the fallen members of our cavern family have been memorialized on the imager at the Callow Pub, to the advent of an entire age with more books than I can count filled with the people we have lost along the way. No other online world does that, and that's what makes Cavern truly the only home I have ever known, because it's filled with the people I love. And instead of having to remember 20 different forum logins, one login to Discord brings a multitude of different servers hosted by our community all under one roof, from Mysterium news to the latest Explorer-based initiatives and the additions of the latest fan-made ages. We even get to hear from the guys at Cyan. Back in 2004, it was just Mist, Riven, Exile, and Uru. Today, from the number of different releases of Mist and the upcoming re-release of Riven, to Abduction and Firmament, with all the other Cyan games in between, our community is bigger, brighter, and better than ever. And, hey, we can even stream our adventures to the world on Twitch, and that's not bad. And heck, I might just try creating an age of my own. Oh, doops. Hey, at the end of it, I'm just proud that I can say I've done my Dunny 20. But then again, that's just me, of course. For the Cavern today, this is Sherry, signing off.
That was Rowena Forest by Sasha Strange. Thanks again to Sasha for allowing us to feature your incredible work on our podcast. For our final segment this episode, Maurus will be walking us through an overlooked bit of Myst history, specifically a mystery involving one of its most iconic sound effects.
One of Myst's most iconic design elements is the linking sound effect. As an audio design enthusiast, I've always loved this sound, and its many updates and variations heard throughout the Myst series. This is not your typical sci-fi teleportation sound, but something a little different. Something that doesn't quite sound like anything else. There's almost an analog sort of practicality to it, a perfect fit for the surprising mode of transit it represents. Not an advanced piece of technology nor a magic portal, but something surprisingly ordinary. A book. But have you ever noticed the original Riven has 2 takes on this linking sound effect? Let's rewind back to 1997, a time when the only linking sound players would have heard before is the one from the original Myst release. In Riven, when players finally uncover one of the Age's patchwork linking books, they hear this sound while being transported, which some may also recognize as track 1 on Riven's soundtrack. But in the endgame cutscene, when Atris finally links in to meet up with the player, we instead hear this. What seems to be an updated take on Myst's original sound effect. In fact, the link out sound even seems to be slightly different as well. Now, this is a great little bit of storytelling, because right away it tells us something very interesting. The link sound effect we've heard up until now is not just a stylistic or aesthetic update. The suggestion seems to be that Gen's jury-rigged linking books don't just behave differently from normal linking books, they also sound different too. And now we're finally hearing what a normal Dunny linking book actually sounds like. It's a great example of how a little bit of sound design can enrich the lore already established in the world. But what's curious is this. Outside of this ending cutscene, this particular take on an updated linking sound was never heard again. Development of Myst games would split after Riven, but neither team reincorporated this redesigned link sound. For Myst 3, Presto designed their own update of the original sound. And meanwhile, for Uru, Cyan developed a new reverb-heavy take on the original sound. The version from the end of Riven never appeared in any subsequent Myst Universe project either, seemingly completely dropped after Riven. So, whatever happened to Riven's short-lived take on this sound? Curious for information, I reached out to Eric A. Anderson at Cyan, but unfortunately this seems to be a mystery to them as well. As our listeners may already know, many assets from the original Riven have been lost over time, part of the reason why this new upcoming rebuild of Riven is especially impressive. And it appears this particular bit of audio and the story behind its creation are unfortunately among them. But I'm determined not to give up here, and am making it my goal to uncover as much as I can about this forgotten little piece of Myst design history. And that's where you come in. Listeners, if you happen to know anything about this sound or the story behind it, reach out to the Cavern today with any tips over social media, or by email at info@thecaverntoday.com. Hopefully one day we'll uncover enough info that we'll be able to share our findings in a follow-up segment. Stay tuned. Until then, for the Cavern Today, this is Maurus, signing off.
That brings us to the end of our Spring 2024 edition, In Review. We'd once again like to thank both Sasha Strange and LCC for allowing us to use their music in our podcast. We'd also like to extend a big thank you to our listeners for your continued support of The Cavern Today. It means the world to us. This episode of The Cavern Today contains trademarks and/or copyrighted works of Cyan Inc., all rights reserved by Cyan. The Cavern Today is not an official Cyan product and is not endorsed by Cyan. The Cavern Today is a Guild of Messengers affiliate. For more information and Cavern news, visit guildofmessengers.org. For The Cavern Today, this is Ankhangel, signing off.
Hey, Maurus, we need to talk.
Sure. What's up, Esto?
Didn't you say that you were visiting New Mexico earlier this year to help with pre-after research for Deep Dive?
Yeah, I mean, I researched. I just didn't find anything.
Well, I've been reviewing your quote-unquote work expenses from the trip, and as far as I can tell, as soon as you landed, you went to every restaurant in Santa Fe.
Listen, have you had New Mexican Chile? There's no replacement for the real thing.
And then Hot Springs?
Don't hate on 10,000 waves.
Then apparently drove straight to Taos and just went skiing for the rest of the trip.
Well, yes, but I hurt my foot, so there, it wasn't all good.
I don't suppose it was on a pre-after spiral, was it?
None
of these places are anywhere even near the cleft.
Yes, but neither were a lot of the other spirals that were found, right? I mean, we don't know that the final one isn't on a ski lift somewhere.
Look, Maurus, I get you've been busy, and if you want to take a vacation, that's fine. Just don't bill it to us as research next time, right?
Look, you'll thank me when we uncover evidence showing that Dunny actually went on many surface expeditions throughout history, and it turns out they loved skiing.
Yeah, I'm sure. Did Dunny skiing and...
Just you wait.
Anyhow, sorry about that, Maurus. You're gonna have fun editing, man.
Yeah.
No,
just don't bill it to us as research next time, all right?
Well, I'm sorry I screwed that up by dropping something over here.
In the past 20 years, I've watched as we went from actress, Sherry, really? 20 years you can't say actress correctly.
You'll thank me when we uncover evidence showing that Dunny actually went on many surface expeditions throughout. Let me take that one more time.
Hey, going with a pal, a friend, however, whatever that word is. I'm going to abandon this phrase and just hope that you get the sentiment.
I got you.
Okay.
So, oh my god.
Let me actually, I'll get the picture of it for you guys.
Sorry to the audience, you'll just have to imagine.
Or, Google Cobalt Core, or, look it up on Steam. It's on Steam.
It's a non-visual format.
Yeah, oh my god, you're listening to it on the internet. Go look it up on the internet.
Those are some cute-looking critters.
Or you got this from the internet anyway. I'm sorry that I can only do so much.